Hello everybody, this is Pastor Green. We're doing another Bible study, 1 Samuel chapter 20. If you'd like me to come speak at your church or if you have any questions, you can send me an email or you can just comment below with your question. Now I want to talk real quick about King David. This is actually a website that says 16 facts about King David. It says here, King David was a shepherd boy who became Israel's third king and most important king. He's the most frequently mentioned human in the Old Testament and the second most frequently mentioned human in the entire Bible. Only Jesus is mentioned more. King David is a very influential, important person in the Bible for many different reasons. It says here, David is a main character of the Old Testament books, 1 Samuel, 2 Samuel, 1 Chronicles, and 2 Chronicles. He's also mentioned in several other books, and nearly half of the Psalms is attributed to him. Today, David is most famous for being the boy who defeated a giant with a slingshot. In fact, the famous narrative of David and Goliath has been so prolific in literature, art, and culture, it has become a common trope for describing other stories about underdogs. But what makes David such a significant biblical figure is his role in establishing God's earthly headquarters in Jerusalem. And despite his glaring flaws, that David is described as a man after God's own heart, and David was far more perfect. But his faith and zeal made him the standard which all Israel's future kings should be measured against. David made a lot of mistakes, but his heart was in the right place. He said, I made a mistake, God forgive me. You know, all these times in the Bible that he's learning, he's trying to figure out who he is. It's very difficult to be basically nothing. He was a shepherd boy. He was from the smallest tribe. He was considered this small and not really important. But then he became a king. I mean, the trying to grasp that is really hard to do. But not only did he become a king, is he was a king that wanted to serve God. He wanted to build God a temple, and yet because of his mistakes he made, because of his sin, God didn't let David build the temple, but he let his son Solomon build the temple. It's a really important person in the Bible. You can look here, he was commissioned to be the next king at the age 10 or 15 years. And he started reigning as king at 30 years old, and he reigned for about 30 years, or he reigned for about 40 years. And if you look here, I'm not going to really go into detail about it, but it's David's 33 Jerusalem years in 997 BC to 964 BC. You can look on here and see all the different things that happened, and you can pause it if you actually want to read it. 1 Samuel 20 says, And David fled from Nehom in Ramah, and he came and said, What's before Jonathan? What have I done? What is mine iniquity? And what is my sin before thy father, that he seeketh my life? David served Saul amazingly. He played instruments for him to calm him down. He fought in battles for him. David did everything he possibly could to be a good servant to Saul, and for some reason Saul wanted to kill him. If you look here on the map, Saul, Samuel, and David, it shows you where Gilgal is, Ramah is, Gibeath, Jerusalem, Bethlehem, and the different important things that happen in that area. It said here again, And David fled from Nehom in Ramah, and came and said before Jonathan, What have I done? What is mine iniquity? What is my sin before thy father? Why he seeketh my life? David has no idea why Saul wants to take David's life, and so he's asking Saul's son Jonathan, what's going on? In Genesis 20, we see a bunch of different people. Actually, I'm going to show you a couple of different people that have asked the same question. Genesis 20, when Abimelech called Abraham and said unto him, What hast thou done to us, and what hast thou offended thee, that thou hast brought me on my kingdom a great sin? Thou hast done deeds to me that ought not to be done. Abraham told Abimelech that Sarah was his sister and not his wife, and so Abimelech decided to make Sarah his mistress, basically. And so God punished Abimelech for it. And Abimelech's like, I didn't know, you told me a lie. What have I done to you? In Numbers 22, it says, And there was an ass that saw the angel of the Lord, and fell down under Balaam. And Balaam's anger was kindled, and he smote the ass with a staff. And the Lord opened his mouth to the ass, and so she should say to Balaam, What have I done to thee? Thou hast smitten me before thy times. Balaam was a donkey. The donkey basically saw this angel of the Lord and just stopped and said, Wow, this is an angel of the Lord. I need to bow down. And the Balaam just got mad and said, What are you doing? And the donkey's like, Well, look at the angel. What do you think I'm doing? 1 Samuel 17, And David said, what now have I done? Is there not a cause? This is what he fought Goliath. Goliath was cursing God and cursing Israel, and David said, we need to stop this guy. Is there not a cause? Like, what are you talking about? 1 Samuel 26. It says, and Saul knew David's voice and said, is that thy voice, my son David? And David said, this is my voice, O Lord the king. And he said, wherefore doth the Lord pursue after this servant? For what have I done, or what evil manner in my hand? Samuel 29. And David said unto Achish, but what have I done? What is thou final servant so long that I have been without these days, that I might not go find against the enemies of my Lord the king? 1 Kings 19. What have I done to thee? So if you go back to 1 Samuel 20, it says, and he said unto him, God forbid that thou shalt not die. Behold, my father will do nothing either great or small, but he will show it to me. That he should show my father, hide this thing from me, it is not so. Jonathan's saying, I don't know if my dad's mad at you, but my dad's not going to hide nothing from me, so if I just go talk to him, he'll explain it to me. And David swore moreover and said, thy father certainly knoweth that I have found grace in his eyes. And then he said, let not Jonathan not know this, let he be grieved, but truly as the Lord liveth, and as a soul liveth, there is but a steep between me and death. And said Jonathan to David, whatsoever thy soul desires, I will do for thee. So Jonathan's like, I see you're distressed and you're going through problems, but whatever needs to be done, I can help you with that. And David said to Jonathan, behold, tomorrow is a new moon, and that I shall not fail to sit with the king at meat. But let me go, and I might hide myself in the field for the third day at even. If thy father at all misses me, then say, David earnestly asked to leave from me, that he might run to Bethlehem his city. For there's a yearly sacrifice there with his family. He's saying, tomorrow's a new moon, we got to go sit with the king. I know, I won't be there, and for 3 days I won't be there. And if Saul says he misses me, well then say, he's in Bethlehem with his family. But if he says he doesn't miss me, that's a different story. And if he says thus, it is well, that servant shall have peace. But he's very wroth, and he surely has evil determined by him. He's saying if he says, everything's good, I miss him, then everything's fine. But if he's mad that I'm not there, then I'm in trouble. During war times or conflict, it may become necessary to have a signal of coded messages and signs. Therefore, thou shalt not deal kindly with thy servant, for thou hast brought thy servant into a covenant of the Lord with thee. Notwithstanding, if there be in me iniquity, slay me thyself. For what shouldest thou bring me to thy father? He's saying, Jonathan, if I did something wrong to your dad, you can go ahead and end my life because I did something wrong. Because I made a deal with God. But if I didn't do something wrong, I need to know what was going on. And Jonathan said, far be it from thee, for if I knew certainly the evil was determined by my father to come upon thee, would not I tell thee? Then said David to Jonathan, who shall tell me? Or what if thy father answered thee roughly? So Matthew Henry commentary on this says, the trials that David met with prepared for him for a future advancement. Thus the Lord deals with those whom he prepared unto glory. He does not put them in immediate possession of the kingdom, but leads them into much tribulation, that he means the fitting for them. Let not the murmur of his gracious appointments, nor distrust of his care, but let them look forward to joy and anticipation of the crown which is laid upon them. Sometimes it appears to us there's a steep between us and death, and all these times may be so, but we should prepare for the event. But through dangers that appear most threatening, we cannot die in the purpose of God's concerning us and accomplished, nor we have served generation according to his will, if we are believers. Jonathan generously offered David his service. It is a true friendship. Thus Christ testified his love to us. Ask and it shall be done to you. We must testify our love to him by keeping his commandments. This is basically saying that sometimes God has a purpose for you, and because he wants to make sure you're ready for that purpose, he puts you through some difficult times. These difficult times prepare you for that purpose. If everything was given to you, when hardship comes, you wouldn't be ready for it. And Jonathan said unto David, come and let us not go into the field. And they went out both of them to the field. And Jonathan said to David, O Lord God of Israel, when I have sounded my father about tomorrow at any time, or the third day, and behold, if there be good towards David, then I shall send out to thee, and show it thee. The Lord do so much more to Jonathan, but if it pleases my father to do this evil, then I will show it to thee, and send thee away, that thou mayest go in peace, and the Lord be with thee, and he has been with my father. And thou shalt not not only while yet I live, show me the kindness of thy Lord, that I die not. But also thou shalt not cut off thy kindness from my house forever. No, not when the Lord has cut the enemies of the David, every one of them, from the face of the earth. So Jonathan made a covenant with the house of David, saying, let the Lord even require it at the hand of David's enemies. And Jonathan caused David to swear again, because he loved him, for he loved him as his own soul. Then Jonathan said to David, tomorrow be the new moon, and thou shalt be missed, because thy seat will be empty. And when thou hast stayed 3 days, when thou shalt go down quickly, and come to the place where thou didst hide themselves in the bushes with thine hand, thou shalt remain by the stone Ezel. And I will shoot 3 arrows on the side thereof, as if I shot at the mark. And behold, I will set the lad, saying, go out and find the arrows. And if I expressly say to the lad, behold, the arrows are on this side of thee, take them, then come thou, for there is peace to thee, and no hurt, and the Lord liveth. But if I say thus to the young man, behold, the arrows are beyond thee, then go ways, for the Lord has sent thee the way. So Jonathan has this great idea. He says, okay, listen, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to shoot some arrows out there. I'm going to tell some boy to go collect them. If everything's fine, I'm going to shoot the arrows right next to the target and tell the boy, oh, it's right over there. But if my dad's mad at you, I'm going to shoot the arrows further behind the target and tell the boy, you got to keep going to find it, and that way you'll know that my dad's mad at you. So he tells the boy, whether it's here or whether it's there. And as touching the matter which thou hast now spoken of, behold, the Lord between thee and me forever. All throughout the Bible you see between me and thee. So the commentary on 1 Samuel 20, 11 through 23 says, Jonathan faithfully promises that he would let David know that he found his father's affection towards him. It will be kindness to ourselves and to ours, to secure an interest in those whom God favors, to make friends of ours. True friendship rests on a firm basis, and it's able to silence ambition, self-love, and undue regard for others. But who can fully understand the love of Jesus, who gave himself as a sacrifice for rebellious, polluted sinners? How great is it to be the force to affect our love to him that is caused by his people? He's saying that it's really important to have close friends and to understand what's happening in front of us. So David hid himself in the field, and when the new moon has come, the king sat down to eat meat. And the king sat upon a seat, and the other times even upon a seat by the wall. And Jonathan arose, and Abner sat by Saul's side, and David's place was empty. Nevertheless, Saul spoke not anything that day, for he thought, something has befallen him. He's not clean. Surely he's not clean. And it came to pass on the morrow, which was the 2nd day of the month, that David's place was empty. And Saul said unto Jonathan his son, wherefore cometh not the son of Jesse to meat, neither yesterday's nor today? And Jonathan answered to Saul, David earnestly asked to leave me for to go to Bethlehem. And he said, let me go, I pray thee, for our family has a sacrifice in the city, and my brothers had commanded me to be there. For now I have found favor in thine eyes. Let me get away, I pray thee, to see my brethren. And therefore he cometh not to the king's table. Then Saul's anger would kindle against Jonathan, and he said unto him, thou son of the perverse, rebellious woman, did not know that I have chosen the son of Jesse to thine own confusion, and of the confusion of thy mother's nakedness? For as long as the son of Jesse liveth upon the ground, thou shalt not be established or in the kingdom. Wherefore now send and fetch him to me, for he shall surely die. And Jonathan answered Saul his father, and said unto him, wherefore shall he be slain? What has he done? So what we know so far is that Saul got mad. He says he wants to kill David. And Jonathan's like, what's going on? And Saul's telling him, well, if we don't kill David, you can't become the king. So we got to kill David so you can become the king. And Jonathan's like, well, yeah, but what's David done? He's not done nothing to you. And Saul cast a javelin at him to smote him, whereby Jonathan knew that he was determined of his father to kill David, to slay David. So Jonathan arose from the table in fierce anger, and did not eat no meat in the 2nd day of the month. For he was grieved for David, because his father did him shame. So this is talking about the commentary on 1 Samuel 20, 24 through 34. It says, none were more consistent than David in attending holy duties, nor had he been absent, but self-preservation obliged him to withdraw. In great peril presents opportunities for divine ordinances may be waived. but it's bad for us except in cases of necessity to admit any opportunity of stately attending on them. Jonathan did wisely and well for himself and family to secure an interest in David, yet he is blamed. It is good to take God's people for our people, to prove our advantages at last, however it may not be against our interest. Saul was outrageous. What savage beasts, and worse does anger make men. And it came to pass in the morning that Jonathan went out to the field at the time appointed with David, and the little lad with him. And he said unto his little lad, Run, find thou the arrows which I shot. And the lad ran, and he shot an arrow behind him. And when the lad was come to the place of the arrow which Jonathan had shot, Jonathan cried out to the lad and said, It is not the arrow beyond thee. And Jonathan cried out after the lad, Make speed, haste, stay not. And Jonathan's lad gathered up the arrows, and it came to his master. But the lad knew nothing about the thing that Jonathan and David knew in the matter. And Jonathan gave his artillery to the lad, and said unto him, Go carry them to the city. And as soon as the lad was gone, David arose out of the place towards the south, and fell on his face to the ground, and bowed himself 3 times, then kissed one another, and wept one another until David exceeded. So David and Jonathan basically said, Dad's trying to hurt you. You got to get out of here. You got to run away. And Jonathan said to David, Go in peace, for as much we have sworn both of us in the name of the Lord, saying, The Lord is between me and thee, and between thy seed and thy seed forever. And he arose and departed, and Jonathan went to the city. So this is a commentary on this part. The separation of 2 faithful friends was grievous to both, but David's case was the more deplorable, for David was leaving his comforts, even those in God's sanctuary. Christians need not sorrow as men without hope, but being one with Christ, yet they are one another and will meet his presence ere long, and part no more, and meet the tears shall be wiped away from their eyes. It's basically saying that sometimes Christians get grieved because they're missing somebody, but we know that when we die, we're going to see him in heaven. True friends are never apart, maybe in distance, but never in heart. Best Friend Day. Here's the friends. And all throughout the Bible it talks about being a friend. Proverbs 22 says, Make no friendship with an angry man, or with a furious man thou shalt not go, lest thou learn his ways and get a snare to thy soul. Say, don't hang out with mad people, angry people, or else you might become angry yourself. James 4 says, For which thou wars and fightings among you, come they not hence, even if your lust and war from your members. Your lust have not, ye killed, and desire to have, and cannot obtain, ye fight and war, yet you have not because you ask not. You ask and receive not, because you ask amiss, and they may consume it upon your lusts. Ye adulterers and adulteresses, know not that the friendship of the world is an enemy with God. Whatsoever therefore be a friend of the world is an enemy of God. Do you think that the Scriptures saith in vain, the Scriptures that dwelleth in us liveth to envy? But he giveth more grace, wherefore he said, God resisteth is proud, but give grace to the humble. Submit yourself therefore to God. Rest in the devil, and he'll flee from you. Draw near to God, and he will draw near to you. Cleanse your hands, and sinners, and purify your hearts, ye double-minded. Be afflicted, and mourn, and weep. And let not your laughter be turned to mourning, and your joy to be heaviness. Humble yourself in the sight of the Lord, and he shall lift you up. 2 Chronicles 20 says, Art not thou God, but thou didst drive out the inhabitants of the land before thy people Israel, and givest the seed of Abraham thy friend forever? Isaiah 41 says, But thou Israel art my servant, Jacob who hath chosen the seed of Abraham my friend. James 2 says, And the Scriptures were fulfilled to say, Abraham believed God, and it was imputed for him for righteousness, and he was called the friend of God. Job 1, And the Lord said unto Satan, Hast thou not considered my servant Job? Is there not one like him in the earth, and perfect and upright man, one that feareth God and eschewed evil? Job 2, And the Lord said unto Satan, Hast thou not considered my servant Job? There is none like him on the earth, a perfect and upright man, one that feareth God and escheweth evil, and still holdeth fast to an integrity, although he moveth against me to destroy him without cause. Guys, that's the video. I appreciate you guys watching. If you have any questions, you can always send me an email, or you can comment below. I'm going to put a couple links on the screen here. The bottom right is going to be the 1 Samuel Bible study. The top left is going to be the Genesis Bible study. And the bottom left is going to be a video YouTube things you're going to like. Make sure if you guys haven't done so yet, you like, you share, you subscribe, you tell your friends all about us, click that bell. You guys know how to do all that stuff. I'm going to see you guys in the next video. Have yourself a great day.